A billionaire stuck in Lagos traffic sees a beggar woman and her little girl. But when he looks closer, he realizes it's someone from his past. He takes them home, and what happens next will leave you speechless. If you are just tuning into this channel, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Also, tell us where you are watching from. Ryan had only been back in Nigeria for 21 days, and already his name was on every executive's lips. Everywhere he stepped into, oil summits, business launches, government circles, they said the same thing. That's Chief Okan's son, the one that just returned from the UK, the one taking over the empire. He didn't need to introduce himself. His surname did all the work. Chief Anthony Okan was not an ordinary man. He was wealth, power, and influence wrapped into one person, a man whose name opened closed doors, a man whose chair sat at the head of multiple boardrooms across oil and gas, real estate, crypto, aviation, fintech, and agriculture. There were billionaires, and then there was Chief Okan, and now his only son, Ryan, young, brilliant, and freshly minted with an MBA in international business strategy from London, had returned to take over. Ryan woke up early that morning in the family's mansion in Banana Island. He didn't need an alarm. His body was already used to 5 a.m. wake-ups. As he sat on the edge of his massive bed, adjusting the sleeves of his crisp white shirt, his mind was already pacing through the day's tasks. Back-to-back meetings, policy reviews, executive approvals, and one high-level lunch with a potential foreign investor. But his mood was tense. For someone who had been trained abroad, exposed to some of the best business minds, Ryan still felt the pressure of being Chief Okan's son. No matter how qualified he was, the expectations were louder than applause. People didn't just want to see if he could lead. They wanted to see if he could match the footsteps of the giant that came before him. By 7:30 a.m., he was dressed in a dark gray designer suit, standing by the front door, his phone in one hand, briefcase in the other. The mansion was still quiet, the kind of silence only wealth could afford. "Idris," Ryan called out. The driver came jogging from the garage. "Yes, Oga? Let's head out now. I want to pass through Awolowo before it gets crazy." "Yes, sir." Ryan slid into the back seat of the black Range Rover, his phone already buzzing with email notifications. Idris started the engine and rolled out of the long driveway. As expected, Lagos was already building pressure. Vendors were setting up their stalls. Buses were shouting destinations. Hawkers were tapping windows. The usual madness. By the time they joined the main road, traffic had already locked them in. Cars weren't moving. Horns were blaring. Ryan checked his wristwatch again. 8:12 a.m. His meeting in Enkay was at 9. He loosened his tie a bit and sighed. "Try the alternate route," he said. "Cut through that inner road that connects to Obalenda." "Yes, Oga." As they veered off the expressway and entered a narrow street lined with shops and open drainage, Ryan leaned back, staring blankly out the tinted window. Then something, or someone, caught his eye. At first he wasn't sure what drew him, but as they drove past slowly, his eyes froze on a woman seated by the side of the road. She was hunched over, wearing a wrapper that looked like it had been dragged through mud. Her blouse was torn around the neckline. Her face was pale, tired, defeated. Beside her sat a small girl, no older than 6, playing quietly with a broken toy and sipping what looked like pure water from a sachet that had been refilled. "Slow down," Ryan said suddenly. "Sir?" "Idris, stop. Find somewhere and park." "Park?" Idris looked confused. "Here?" "Yes. Now." Idris obeyed, quickly squeezing the car between 2 parked tricycles. Ryan didn't wait for the engine to go off. He pushed the door open and stepped out. He walked slowly at first, then with purpose. His heart had started beating differently. The closer he got, the more his throat tightened. The woman didn't look up. She was focused on the rusted bowl in front of her, maybe hoping someone would drop something. Anything. Ryan stood in front of her, silent. "Jane," he said softly. She didn't respond. He said it again, firmer this time. "Jane?" The woman slowly raised her head. Their eyes met. Ryan's breath caught in his chest. It was her. Her eyes were sunken, her cheeks thinner, but the face was still the same. That same face from years ago. That face that used to smile through pain. That face that once wiped his tears in the orphanage. Do you recognize me? He asked, his voice dry. She stared harder, confused at first. Then her lips parted slightly. Ryan swallowed. It's me. Ryan. From Green Hill Orphanage. Many years ago. You used to take care of me. And that was when her eyes widened. Her mouth fell open slightly. Stunned. Frozen. Like her mind was trying to catch up with what her eyes were seeing. For almost 30 seconds, she didn't say a word. She just sat there staring at Ryan like her brain was still loading the information. Ryan didn't move. His hands were inside his pockets. He didn't care that his designer shoes were already dusty or that people were walking past and staring like, "What's this rich man doing talking to that kind of woman?" He didn't care. Not today. The little girl sitting beside the woman blinked up at him, confused. She whispered something to her mother, but the woman didn't respond. Her mouth was still slightly open. Finally, she whispered, "Ryan." "Green Hill Orphanage?" He nodded slowly. "I used to call you Rai," she said in disbelief. "The one that used to fall sick every 2 market days." Ryan chuckled. "You still remember that?" "How can I forget? Your chest used to be making sound like generator. I would be pressing your back and crying." Then suddenly, as if something embarrassed her, she looked away. Her eyes dropped to the dirty plate in front of her. Her voice changed. "What are you doing here?" she asked softly. "You shouldn't be seen with someone like me." Ryan squatted down so he was now closer to her level. "Someone like you? You're the reason I'm alive today." "Please," she said quickly. "Don't say that here, just go. Don't let people take pictures and say one funny thing online." Ryan looked at her daughter. "What's her name?" "Hope," he smiled. "Can I help you both?" "Help?" she asked with a shaky laugh. "You've already helped. Just seeing your face. It's enough. Please go. I'm not leaving you here." She looked around nervously. "Ryan, Biko, stop making a scene." "I said I'm not leaving you here." She tried to argue, but her lips were trembling. The heat, the shame, the sudden reunion. It was too much. Ryan stood up and turned to Idris, who was already standing by the car, watching the drama like a film. "Open the back door." "Sir?" "I said open it." Idris opened the door. Ryan looked at Jane. "You're not staying here another minute. Carry your daughter. We're going home." "I can't." "You can." She was already shaking her head. "Ryan, this world has shown me shades. People have promised and disappointed. Some have helped and turned around to insult me. Please, I can't survive another hope crash. Let me just remain like this. At least I know what to expect." He bent again, his voice gentler now. "This is not pity. This is not camera help. This is not Twitter trend. I just want to help. I owe you that much." The little girl tugged her mother's wrapper. "Mummy, let's go with him. I'm tired. I'm very tired." That was the final straw. Jane looked down at her daughter, then up at Ryan again. Her chest rose and fell, as if something heavy was stuck inside. "Okay," she whispered. And just like that, their life changed. The silence in the car was awkward. Jane and Hope sat quietly, both holding on to each other like the moment they relaxed. Someone would chase them out. Ryan glanced at them in the rearview mirror. "Hope, are you hungry?" The girl nodded without hesitation. "Let's stop somewhere," Ryan told the driver. "Get her some snacks." "Yes, sir." Hope smiled faintly. "I like cookies." "We'll get you cookies," Ryan said. "And juice. Anything else?" Hope looked at her mother. Jane gave a small smile. Tight, tired, but real. "She likes crackers too," she said softly. "Perfect." The car drove through the gates of the mansion, and Jane's heart nearly jumped out of her chest. The house was massive. The lawn looked like it had its own personal barber. A fountain danced in the middle of the driveway. Expensive cars sat like royalty on both sides. Hope pressed her face against the window. "Mommy, is this a hotel?" Jane didn't answer. She couldn't speak. The moment the car stopped, house staff came out to open the doors. "Welcome, sir." Ryan stepped out, then turned to Jane. "Come inside." Jane hesitated. Hope refused to move. "Mommy, are you sure we're not trespassing?" Ryan laughed softly. "You're not. Come on." He picked the girl up himself. Inside the house, Jane could barely keep her balance. The floors were spotless. The staircase curved like something from a royal movie. Light poured in from glass walls. A chandelier sparkled above their heads. "Please follow me," one of the staff said gently. Jane turned to Ryan. "I don't know how to—" "You don't need to know anything. Just rest." He nodded at the maid. "Take them to the guest room. Let them shower and change." Jane followed slowly, as if she was dreaming with her eyes open. A few hours later, Ryan invited them to the dining room for lunch. The table looked like a buffet. Rice, chicken, salad, fruits, juice. Hope's eyes lit up the moment she saw the food. She looked at her mom and gasped. "Mommy, are we at a party?" Ryan chuckled. "Go ahead, eat." Hope didn't need a second invitation. She attacked the food like she was on a mission. Jane, on the other hand, sat stiffly. She didn't touch anything. Ryan noticed. "You don't like the food?" "I do. I'm just not used to this." "Well," he said, "maybe it's time to get used to good things." Hope looked at her mom, then at Ryan. "Mommy, is he going to be my new daddy?" Jane nearly spilled her water. "Hope!" "What?" the girl said with a straight face. "He's kind, he smells nice, and he bought me cookies." Ryan laughed. Jane covered her face with both hands. "I'm so sorry. She says the most embarrassing things." "It's fine," Ryan said, still smiling. "I'll take that as a compliment." Hope grinned and took another bite of chicken. For the first time in a very long time, Jane didn't feel afraid. The food, the clothes, the peace, the way her daughter was laughing again. She didn't know what came next. But maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something new. That night, after Hope had gone to bed, Ryan found Jane outside in the garden, sitting quietly under the soft patio lights. She didn't hear him coming until he sat down beside her. He didn't speak right away, just waited. After a moment, he asked, "What happened to you, Jane?" "After the orphanage?" Her smile faded. "I turned 18 and they sent me away with nothing. No family, no help, no direction." Ryan was silent. "I found a job as a housemaid, stayed with the same family for years. Then one day I met a man. He was kind. He made me laugh. Promised to marry me." She paused. "He had a wife, children. I didn't know. When I found out, I'd already fallen. I was pregnant." Ryan exhaled slowly. "And then he died. Just like that. His family came and threw me out like trash. I was alone, no money, nowhere to go. I gave birth to Hope in a church compound, and since then, I've just been surviving." Ryan looked straight at her. "While I was in London going for checkups, going to restaurants, you were out here suffering." Jane shook her head. "It's not your fault." "It still hurts," he said, "because you were there for me when no one else was." There was a pause. "I want you to stay here," Ryan said quietly. Jane's head snapped up. "What?" "Here, in this house, with Hope." She shook her head quickly. "Number Ryan, no. Please, don't offer what you'll regret. I'm grateful, but I don't want to be another burden." "You're not a burden. You're family." "I've been helped before," she said, and then mocked for it. Ryan sat forward. "Then don't do it for you. Do it for Hope." Jane's eyes filled with hesitation. She deserves more than sleeping on the roadside. She deserves school, peace, a warm bed. She deserves everything you never had. After a long moment, Jane looked at him. "Okay, but only if you let me work." "Work?" "Yes, let me clean. Washington, fold laundry, cook, anything. Just let me earn my stay." Ryan smiled. "You want to mop my house?" Jane smiled back faintly. "I really do." "All right then," he nodded. "It's a deal." It had been 4 days since Jane and her daughter moved into Ryan's mansion, but she still walked around like someone waiting for a security guard to tap her on the shoulder and say, "Madam, you don't belong here." Every morning she was up before sunrise, already sweeping the corridors, wiping glass tables, folding throws on the couch, and straightening anything that didn't look perfect, even though the house had more cleaners than bedrooms. The maids didn't understand her. One of them, Lisa, whispered to the other, "Is she trying to take our jobs? Why is she always cleaning things that are already clean?" Jane wasn't trying to impress anyone. She just couldn't sit still and be looked after. Not when her daughter was eating fruit salad and sleeping on soft beds like royalty. This morning, Jane had cleaned the staircase, vacuumed the guest lounge, wiped all the picture frames, and was now in the kitchen trying to peel yam. Hope, meanwhile, was sitting at the breakfast bar in a cute pink dress, sipping chocolate milk and watching cartoons on the mounted TV. Ryan walked in, still in his joggers and workout shirt, towel around his neck. He paused when he saw Jane crouched over a large stainless steel bowl. "Jane?" She turned, startled. "Good morning. What are you doing?" "Peeling yam," she said casually. "Why?" She straightened up. "I want to cook breakfast. I already made stew. I just need to—" "Jane," he interrupted gently, "you don't have to cook. I want to. We have a chef. I can still help. Please. I can't just wake up and start stretching my legs in someone else's house, pressing phone, watching TV like you're a guest who belongs here," Ryan said. She paused. Her eyes softened. "I don't deserve this," she said quietly. Ryan walked closer. "Jane, you're not here because of pity. You're here because you matter." She smiled awkwardly and looked away. "I'm just not used to it, that's all." Hope turned from the cartoons. "Mommy, are you talking to your boyfriend?" Jane gasped. "Hope! What? You're always smiling when he enters the room." Ryan laughed and gave Hope a thumbs up. "You're very observant." Jane looked like she wanted the floor to open up and swallow her. "Hope, please go and watch your show." Hope shrugged, picked up her milk, and skipped off. Ryan turned back to Jane. "Let me make it easier. You want to cook?" She nodded slowly. "Fine, you can cook. But tomorrow. Today you're going with me." "Go with you where?" "Out." "For what?" "You'll see. I don't have clothes for anywhere fancy. I already told the housekeeper to bring you some options." Jane's eyes widened. You're not a housemaid here, Jane. You're not a burden. You're Hope's mom. You're my friend. And today you're getting out of this house." Jane blinked at him. Ryan smiled. "You've been cleaning my chandelier for 3 days. That thing is taller than you. Let's go do something normal for once." By 2 p.m., Jane was seated in the back of the car, looking like a completely different woman. New jeans, a simple off-shoulder top, her hair packed neatly into a bun, clean makeup, dangling earrings. Her handbag sat awkwardly on her lap like she was still scared someone would come and collect it back. Hope was beside her, wearing a white sundress and eating cookies like she was born in Beverly Hills. "Where are we going again?" Jane asked nervously. Ryan looked back from the front passenger seat. "Relax, you'll like it." 10 minutes later, the car pulled up in front of a modern mall in Lekki. Hope screamed, "Ice cream!" Jane's eyes widened. "You brought us here for ice cream?" Ryan grinned. "Not just ice cream. There's a play area for Hope, and a bookstore for you." "A bookstore?" Jane blinked. "Why would I go to a bookstore?" "I remember you used to love reading." Jane smiled slowly. "You remember that?" "I remember everything." Hope didn't even wait. Once the door opened, she ran inside like she owned the building. Inside the mall, people turned. It wasn't just because of the setting. It was the way Ryan walked beside Jane like they were equals, like she wasn't a woman pulled off the roadside a few days ago. They sat at a corner booth inside a gelato cafe. Hope was at the kids' station with an apron on, making her own cup with sprinkles and chocolate chips. Jane looked around, stunned. "Ryan, this is too much. All this? For me?" "For you and your daughter," he corrected. "You've given so much in your life. Maybe it's time someone gave back to you." Jane looked down at the napkin in her hand. "You're not just being nice, right? I mean, this won't suddenly end one day with a long note that says, 'It's time for you to go,' right?" Ryan shook his head. "You're not a project. You're not an experiment. You're family." She looked up at him, and for the first time in years, she didn't feel like a burden. She didn't feel like someone struggling to survive. She felt seen. She didn't say anything, but her smile spoke volumes. Ryan smiled too. Besides, he added playfully, if I throw you out now, who's going to clean my chandelier? Jane burst into laughter, and for the first time in a very long time, it sounded real. Jane didn't know how she ended up in the middle of a mansion, wearing silk pajamas, folding towels that weren't even used. She had scrubbed the guest toilet that morning, cleaned all the ceiling fans, and wiped every mirror in the house twice. Not because they were dirty, but because her mind refused to settle. She needed her hands busy. Her heart, that one was already misbehaving. Ryan, that was the problem. The way he walked around the house like he didn't know he was fine. The way he laughed with hope and leaned on the kitchen counter like he was in a romantic movie. The way he looked at Jane sometimes like she was someone. She hated it. Worse, she liked it. This particular afternoon, she was mopping the marble hallway when she heard his voice from upstairs. Jane? She turned too fast and nearly lost balance. She caught the mop stick like a ninja, pretending nothing happened. Yes? Can you come up for a second? Right now? No, next week Tuesday, he teased. Yes, now. Jane rolled her eyes and muttered under her breath. You're not even funny. But her heart, that one was doing backflips. She climbed the stairs, wiping sweat from her forehead and adjusting the oversized t-shirt she had borrowed from the laundry room. It said Boss Man on the chest. Hope picked it for her the night before. Ryan stood in his home office, leaning on his desk with a glass of water in hand. He looked up and smiled. Hi. Hi, she replied, avoiding his eyes. I just finished a meeting and I'm hungry. Jane blinked. Okay. Will you cook? I thought you had a chef. I do, but I don't want a chef meal. I want Jane food. She laughed. What's Jane food? He shrugged. You made yam and egg sauce that morning. My body has been chasing that taste ever since. She raised an eyebrow. You called me upstairs? For yam and egg? Yes. You dragged me from the middle of mopping, up 20 steps, for tuber and egg? Ryan nodded like a child. Exactly. She turned dramatically and walked away. You're lucky you're rich. He laughed, and somehow that laugh followed her all the way to the kitchen and stayed dancing in her ears as she peeled yam. Later that evening, the whole house smelled like comfort. Hope was dancing around in socks, singing off-key. Ryan came down in a clean white shirt and trousers, barefoot, with a file in his hand and a mischievous grin on his face. He walked into the kitchen, leaned on the doorway and said, Smells like heaven. Jane didn't turn. Don't distract me. I don't want to burn your so-called Jane food. I'm not distracting. I'm admiring. She stirred the egg sauce harder than necessary. I have a serious question, he said. She sighed. What now? Do you have a boyfriend? She froze. The spatula in her hand paused midair. Excuse me? I said, do you have a... I heard what you said. He smiled. So? She turned around slowly. What kind of question is that? A normal one. Answer, please. I don't have time for relationships, she said quickly. And if this is about Hope saying you should marry me, I'm not complaining, he cut in. Jane opened her mouth, closed it, then pointed the spatula at him. Stay out of my head. Ryan held up both hands. All right, peace. She turned back to the pot, her cheeks warm. Ryan watched her for another second, then said, For the record, if you were ever interested in me, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Jane slammed the pot lid harder than necessary. Ryan laughed and walked away. That night, Jane lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. She had cleaned 4 bedrooms, cooked 2 meals, folded a dozen towels, and was now lying down wide awake because of one man and his nonsense smile. She heard footsteps, then a knock on her door. She sat up quickly. Who is it? It's me. She opened the door slightly and saw Ryan in his t-shirt and joggers. I just wanted to say goodnight, he said. She stared at him. He stared back. They stood there for 5 full seconds. Okay, she said. Good night. She tried to close the door, but he gently placed his hand to stop it. Not forcefully, just soft. He looked at her and said, Jane, I meant what I said earlier. I like you. Jane froze. Her heartbeat shifted gears. Ryan, don't say things you'll regret later. I'm not saying it to pass time, he said. I really like you. Not out of pity, not because of what happened at the orphanage. Just you. She blinked fast. Nobody wants a beggarly single mother, she said under her breath. Ryan leaned closer. I told myself I would marry you, back then. At Greenhill, when you were sneaking food to me and helping me breathe through my sickness. I used to say it to myself like a joke. One day, I'll marry Jane. She stared at him. I never forgot you, he said quietly. She was still, frozen, shocked. She had never imagined that all those years ago, while she thought he was just some weak boy she had to protect, he was silently falling in love with her. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. Ryan smiled softly. Good night, Jane. And then he walked away. Jane stood there, her hand still holding the door, and her mind spinning like a washing machine. A few weeks after settling into the mansion, Ryan asked Jane out properly. No hints, no teasing, just a straightforward, I really like you, and I'd love to date you. Jane was shy at first, unsure if he truly meant it, but after everything they had shared, the laughs, the quiet talks, the care, she said yes, and from that day they started dating. Dating Ryan felt like waking up inside a life Jane used to watch other women live. He took her out for lunch dates and treated her like she was made of gold. He bought Hope picture books, ballet shoes, and a keyboard she couldn't stop pressing. He started coming home early, canceled meetings just to sit with them on the couch and watch silly movies. It wasn't just love, it was peace, a kind of quiet happiness she didn't know she could still feel. Most nights after Hope fell asleep, she and Ryan would sit in the backyard, barefoot, eating fruit and laughing about childhood stories. Sometimes they didn't talk. They just sat there, in silence that didn't feel awkward, but safe. One Friday night, the three of them were curled up on the living room couch, watching a cartoon Hope had forced them to watch for the third time. Ryan had his arms stretched behind Jane. Hope had fallen asleep with a bowl of popcorn resting on her lap. Everything felt perfect. Then the front door opened, and everything changed. Ryan! A sharp female voice echoed from the hallway. Jane's entire body stiffened. She didn't need to be told who that was. Ryan sat up quickly. Mom? And there she was, Mrs. Cecilia Ocon, standing in her full designer glory, hair laid, bag clutched, expensive perfume announcing her presence. Her eyes moved across the room slowly, first to the sleeping child, then to Jane, then back to Ryan. Her lips tightened. I need to speak with you, upstairs, now. Jane immediately stood. Good evening, Ma. Cecilia didn't respond. Ryan placed a gentle hand on Jane's arm. It's okay. She nodded quietly and carried Hope off the couch. Upstairs, Ryan followed his mother into the lounge and closed the door behind them. Cecilia turned to him, arms folded. What is going on in this house? Ryan exhaled. We were just watching a movie. With who? That woman? That roadside charity case you picked off the street? He froze. Cecilia continued. Ryan, you were raised better. What are you doing entertaining a single mother in your father's house like she belongs here? She does belong here, he said. She's not from our class, she snapped. She doesn't fit, and you know it. Ryan's voice rose slightly. What class are you talking about? The one that let her starve on the roadside while I was eating caviar in London. She's a single mother, Ryan, with a child whose father nobody even knows. Is that what you want to attach to our name? I don't care. Cecilia stared at him. You say that now. Wait until the papers start writing. Wait until the board starts whispering. Wait until the investors start pulling back. I don't care about any of them. You should. No, Mother. What I should care about is the one person who fed me when nobody else would, who sat beside me when I couldn't breathe, who went hungry just to keep me alive. Cecilia's face darkened. And yes, he added, I'm in love with her, and I'm going to marry her. Downstairs, Jane stood frozen near the staircase. She had come up to collect Hope's blanket and heard everything. Her heart shattered into two. She walked back to the room, tears in her eyes. By the time Ryan came down, Jane had already packed her things. Hope was sitting on the bed in confusion. "Jane?" She didn't turn. "Jane, please," he said again. "Don't do this." She faced him, tears now openly running down her cheeks. "I told you," she said. "I told you I wasn't good enough for you. I told you from the beginning. You are." "I'm not. Ryan, you come from a world where people drive cars that cost more than I've ever seen in my life. I come from a mat on the floor. I don't care about any of that. But I do," she said, "because your mother was right. I'm not from your class. I'm not your type. I was a beggar, a single mother with nothing. I don't belong here." He walked closer. "I love you." She looked away. "Let me go." "I won't." She shook her head and picked up her bag. "I need to leave, please." Hope stood behind her, watching everything. Quiet, scared. Ryan stared at them both, then quietly said, "If you leave now, I'll come after you. I'll knock on every door. I'll search every street. You're not going anywhere. Not this time." The next day, Ryan drove to his parents' mansion. He greeted the staff politely, walked straight to the sitting room, and faced both his parents like a man on a mission. "I love Jane," he said, "and I've made my decision." His father looked up from the newspaper. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure," Cecilia scoffed. "So what? You're going to marry a single mother? Just like that?" "Yes," Ryan said calmly. "Just like that." "What if she embarrasses you?" "She won't." "What if the board—" "I'll step down." That caught them both off guard. "I love her," he repeated, "and if you love me, then let me be happy." The room went quiet. His father sat back and rubbed his chin. Then he turned to Cecilia. "He's grown," he said. "Let him live his life." Cecilia stared at her son, at the passion in his voice, the fire in his eyes, the stubbornness that was hers. Then finally, she sighed. "This is your life, Ryan. If she breaks your heart, don't say I didn't warn you." Ryan smiled. "She's the only one who's ever saved it." A few months after Ryan and Jane started dating, Ryan proposed one evening in the backyard, just as the sun was setting. Jane was barefoot, laughing at something Hope said, when he pulled out a ring and asked, "Can I be your permanent person too?" She didn't say yes immediately. She just hugged him tight and whispered, "I think I already knew." And so the wedding came. It wasn't grand, just family, a few close friends, and plenty of jollof rice. It was held at a private garden in Lekki, trimmed flowers, flowing white drapes, and a clear sky that refused to cry, even though the clouds had been threatening all morning. Hope wore a white tutu dress with matching gloves and shiny flat shoes. She was the little bride, and if you didn't know better, you would have thought she was the one getting married. She marched down the aisle with a plastic bouquet she had personally picked from a decoration basket that morning. "Slow down, Hope," the wedding coordinator whispered. But Hope tossed her curls, rolled her eyes, and whispered back, "They can't start without me anyway." Ryan stood at the altar in a white tuxedo, beaming. Jane wore a simple fitted dress, hair pinned in soft curls, her eyes on Hope as she twirled halfway through the aisle. Cecilia sat on the second row, next to her husband, answering greetings with her nose, lips barely twitching, but at least she didn't hiss or walk out. That was progress. Mr. Okan, on the other hand, was all smiles. He kept turning to everyone beside him and saying, "That's my daughter-in-law. She makes wicked okra soup. Very humble girl, very rare breed." During the vows, Hope coughed very loudly, 3 times, until everyone turned to look at her. "I just want to say something," she said, hand raised like a teacher's pet. Jane's eyes widened. "Hope, not now." But Ryan laughed. "Go ahead, Hope, say it." Hope walked forward, adjusted her gloves dramatically, and faced the crowd. "I just want to say, today is the best day of my life. My mommy is happy, and my brand new daddy is the richest daddy in the world. And handsome too. Thank you." Then she curtsied like she was in a royal castle. People clapped. Jane shook her head and pulled Hope back with a whisper. "You like attention too much." Hope whispered back, "I'm the little bride. I'm supposed to shine." After the wedding, married life began like soft jazz. Jane moved fully into the mansion. Hope got her own room. Pink curtains, princess bed, wall stickers of cartoon queens. But every morning at school drop-off, drama followed them like perfume. Ryan would be trying to open the car door quietly, but Hope, wait. Daddy, come to this side. Let me pose with you. Ryan would sigh. Hope, we're late. Hope would strike a pose beside the car and say, just small flex for my class. Sometimes she'd hold his hand, pull him toward the school building, and announce loudly, everybody meet my brand new daddy. The classmates would gather, some in awe, some just there for the gist. And Hope would continue. He's a billionaire. He owns 3 companies. Last week he bought me pizza 3 times. And guess what? He smells like caramel. Ryan, hiding his face, would whisper, Hope, that's enough. Don't be shy, Daddy. You're trending in this school already. At home, Hope would ask questions with CEO energy. Mommy, when are we buying a swimming pool? Mommy, are you and Daddy going to kiss now, or should I close my eyes? Daddy, you married Mommy, so does that mean you're now my permanent person? Ryan once laughed and answered, Yes, I'm your permanent person. Hope smiled proudly and said, Good. I'll put you in my bio. As the months rolled by, life became beautiful again. Jane never forgot the days she begged under the sun. But now she had a husband who adored her, a daughter who was finally a child again, and a mother-in-law who, well, at least didn't bark anymore. And as for Hope, she remained the heart of the house. No one could step into the living room without hearing her voice. Good evening. Remove your shoes. Sit up straight. Daddy's coming. She was their light, their joy, their tiny boss lady. And every time Ryan tucked her into bed at night, she'd whisper, Daddy, promise you won't ever leave. And he'd whisper back, I promise. Because finally, after years of pain, street corners, orphanage beds, and cold shoulders, they had found something permanent, family. And just when life couldn't get any sweeter, Jane came downstairs one morning, holding a small white test strip. She didn't say a word. She just handed it to Ryan. He blinked, looked at her, and Hope, who was sipping juice on the sofa, gasped and screamed, Oh my God, I'm finally getting a junior sibling. Then she paused. Wait, can I name the baby? No, you cannot, Hope, Ryan and Jane said as they laughed, holding each other lovingly. Thank you for watching. Until I bring another intriguing story your way again. Bye for now.